Wasn't actually quite sure what to make this week. My wife told me to make some bagels. So, I'm making bagels and cream cheese. To start off, we need to bring some milk and cream to the boil. So, I've got a pot here. Also, if you spill some over the side like that, that is actually encouraged. I've got my milk in there, and I'm gonna pour in some cream as well. Now we've got that in there. We're gonna bring it up to a boil, but we'll come back just before it starts boiling, and then we'll crack on with the next step. Once you've got your milk and cream up to a boil, which mine's just starting to boil now, I'm gonna move it off the heat. We're gonna pour in the lemon juice. We'll just stir this around gently, and then we're just gonna let that sit there for a couple of minutes while it all curdles up. So we'll come back in about a minute or 2 minutes there. So now it's been a few minutes, and I'm not sure if it's going to pick it up on the camera, but when you just move it a little bit, you can actually see the curds and the whey have separated. So I've got a bowl here, a bigger bowl with a strainer set on top. Now I should be probably using cheesecloth, but I don't have any. But I do have this, which is just a big piece of super thin linen, and that's going to work just fine. We'll bang that over. Now you could just scoop this out with a slotted spoon, but I think it's better to drain it through a cloth like this. So we're going to gently pour this mixture into here, and we're going to let that drain until it's all drained through, and then we'll have the cream cheese sitting on top. So this is going to take, I have absolutely no idea how long this is going to take because this is the first time I'm making it, but we'll come back when it's all drained. So I've let this drain off now, and now I'm going to transfer it into my mini food processor here. Obviously you could use a bigger one, but there's not that much. I'm not making that big of a portion, so this one should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop it all in there, and once I've done that, we'll come right back. Once I've got it all transferred into your food processor, you're going to season it. That was about half a teaspoon maybe. So bang the lid on, and then we'll whiz this up to a nice creamy consistency. As always, when you're whizzing things up in a device such as this, you got to stop after halfway through and scrape the sides, because it's what you just have to do. Also at this point, before we do the final spin up, we're going to taste for seasoning. Once you're happy with the seasoning, which I'm pretty happy with that, we're going to keep on whizzing it up until it's nice and creamy. Once you've whipped the absolute bejesus out of it and you're happy with the consistency, which tastes pretty damn good to me, we're going to get this out of here, put it in a bowl, and set it in the fridge until we're ready to use it. To make the bagel, you're going to get out your trusty stand mixer. You could do this by hand, but it's much easier with a stand mixer. We're going to add in the water first, and then we're going to bung the flour on top of that. As always, correct amounts and ingredients will be on the website, traditionalbutnot.com. So then on top of that, we've got some sugar and some salt going down. Now, I'm using brown sugar. You could use the white granulated sugar, but I prefer brown sugar in nearly everything that I do. And then we're going to crumble in some fresh yeast. Okay, once you got all that down, pop the lid on, start off on a low speed till it gets combined, and then we'll speed her up. This has been running for maybe a minute and a half now, and it's just starting to come together. So the reason why I put the liquids in first, and then the dries on top, I find that with stand mixers, it makes it combine a lot more easier than if you put the dry in first and then the liquid on top. So with a stand mixer, always put your liquid in first. So at this point, we'll give it a quick scrape down. With this hydration dough, you probably could even skip this scrape down, but I always find it doesn't take that long. Close it back down, and we'll start kneading on a high speed for around 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, the dough's finished kneading, so I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on my hands, just a touch. And this is going to greatly help the dough not to stick to your hands. We'll get this off, we'll get this set away. So, I'll plop it out on the work surface. We're going to get it into a nice, tight, smooth little bowl. Something like that. Stand mixer bowl, a little bit more oil. We'll swish it all around. Dough ball goes in, and then we're going to cover this up with probably a dinner plate, cover it up, and we're going to let this double in size. My dough's doubled in size. So, at this point, we're going to degas it a little bit by just, doing that. And then we're going to bung it on a scale, and then we're going to weigh it out, because we're going to divide this into 8 equal parts. So, my dough is 870. We're going to divide that by 8, and then we'll get it portioned out. Once you get them portioned out into 8 equal pieces, we're just going to get them into nice round little bowls. So we're just going to push them all together, bring it all in like so, and we'll flip it over and we'll just roll it. Now, this is a very common technique in the bread making industry, I would say. I've explained it many times on here. The way I like to bring them into a tight little bowl is you just cup it, And as you roll it, you're using your thumb just to push it under itself. And then it creates a nice lot of tension. So once it looks, into a rough ball, as you can see, it's all nicely come together on the bottom. It's nice and smooth. We're going to put that aside, and then we're going to crack on and roll the rest of them out. Once you've got them all rolled out in the balls, I've just put a little bit of flour on the work surface. I'm just going to cover them with a damp, clean towel, just for about, 5 or 10 minutes. And that's just going to help them relax and chill out for a little bit before we move on to the next step, which is making them into the little donut shapes. Now we've let them rest for a little bit. Now it's time to make the shape. So I'm just going to get a little flour on my finger. I'm going to poke a hole straight through the middle, like that. Make a hole, and then you just start stretching it out. I'm pretty sure it didn't take too long, but once we get a nice little round hole like that, we'll set it aside and crack on with the rest. As you see, got a pot of water on the boil. So this is a quick process. I'm going to bung the bagel in, and then when it starts floating, I'm going to give it about another minute, and we'll flip it over and cook it for about another minute. If you want a chewy bagel, you cook it for 2 minutes. There we go. In it goes, and it's floating straight away. So it's been floating and boiling for a minute. We're just going to flip it over and let it boil for another minute. After you've been boiling your bagel for 2 minutes total, we're going to pop it on a baking paper lined tray, and we're going to finish the rest of them. Also, once you've taken it out of the water, you want to put any toppings on? Now's the time to do it, because with the wetness of it, it'll stick. So I'm just going to put some black sesame seeds on this one. Nice healthy dose of this one. You could put whatever you want over here at this point. But for this one, straight sesame seed. I've got my oven preheated to 220 degrees, and I've got my bagels here. So I'm going to pop them in the oven for around 20-25 minutes. I'm going to come back and I'm going to rotate the pan about halfway through the cooking, because my oven's a little uneven. And to get perfect cooking on these, I'm going to rotate it. We'll come back in about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, and they look like this, they're ready. I'm just going to get them off the paper, put them onto this little cooling rack to the side, and once they've cooled down a little, we'll be ready to tuck in. The moment of truth, time to cut into the bagel and see what the crumb looks like. Yeah, not too bad. There is one thing I'm noticing though. I would use an egg wash next time to put the toppings on, because they pretty much all fell off. Minor details. Time to slap on a whole bunch of cream cheese. Right after a fat layer of cream cheese, time for the smoked salmon. Now, I would, give smoked salmon a crack, but I don't actually have a smoker in the city, so we'll have to try that another time. Big old fat layer. Now, to finish it off, a little bit of dill. I like a little bit of dill with my smoked salmon and cream cheese. And cap it off, and you're ready to eat. So I've never actually made bagels or cream cheese before, but I think they turned out alright. Bagels are a little ugly, but I'm sure they're going to taste just fine. I've got a lot on my face, don't I? Classic, filling for a bagel. Cream cheese, smoked salmon, bit of dill, and I got a pretty nice chew to the bagel. I'm a happy man.